What's up guys, it's Cher talking, welcome back to my channel. On today's video, I'll be making a full review for the Romancing Festival Ludwig banner. That brings Ludwig, a damage dealer, but also defense booster that can apply damage block. Madeleine, that is a damage dealer and counter specialist. And Evelyn, a debuffer. Well, we will start talking about Ludwig first. He gives a name to the banner. He is a hybrid. He tries to have all types of status. STR for physical damage, intelligence for spells, endurance and will to resist, and even some dexterity to not miss his attack alongside agility. It's good. It's a very good status distribution. He just has low love and charisma that barely affects anything. Then for passives, he increases damage potential by 30% at all times, and when landing a spell attack, he will increase it by another 30%. Then, when attacked, he has a 25% chance to always block damage and reduces damage taken by 30%. Because of that, he takes 1 LP as recoil damage that barely affects anything. At the start of a battle, he grants all other surviving allies Unyielding Reign. That's permanent in battle. And when landing an attack, he recovers 2 BP. Also, by start of turn, he gets a 30% increase in damage for the whole fight, stacks 5 times per battle to get 150 just from this alone. So we have 180 at all times and 210% when using spells. But what is Unyielding Reign? Well, this is an interesting passive. When your HP is not full, most of the time it won't be full, you will increase damage by 15% and you reduce damage taken by 10%. But okay, just decrease damage taken by 10%, it's not really that great. But when you are on critical HP, that is 30% of your max HP, you will increase your damage further by 20%. Both effects will stack for a total of 35 increase. And you have a 25% chance to block damage. Well, 30% of your HP is a very critical value. Usually you die with 1 hit, sometimes you don't, but having this gimmick in this point is not really that helpful in my opinion. He is competing with the latest Final Impress when she uses her shield that can apply an effect on full HP and also when it's not on full HP, but he loses this fight. Moving on for our skills, we have Evil Wind Plus. It's a single target spell with shadow and slash damage. 2 BP cost and the power is not that strong, but buffs endurance and intelligence by 30% on max level. It's nice because it's 1 offensive and 1 defensive status. The second one, Clad in Chaos. It's a support self skill that is also fast, uses 9 BP, so he can use this on start, but if he does, he will not even recover that 2 extra. On the start of the next turn, he only has 4, and he will get a 50% increase for shadow damage. All of his attacks has shadow, and he will give 5 BP to all other surviving allies, 50% damage reduction for 3 turns, and everyone besides him will take a 10% cut of their max HP. And this will align with his passive Unyielding Reign, because this will allow them to have another 10% damage reduction. But this only lasts for 3 turns, so is it that very great? I mean, look, talking about Liz. Liz's newest style is awesome. She has this skill called Dragon's Blessing Plus. She decreases damage taken by 25% on turn 1, and then you can cast it again on turn 2, so she has 2 stacks of minus 25%. She also recovers people and gives BP. And if you use this 4 times, you have lots of effects. Ludwig will hurt your party, and he only has these effects for 3 turns. Then after that is just 10% damage reduction when not on full HP and the chance to block damage. Sadly, this is not really something that great, in my opinion. Then we have the last skill, Dark Violet Slash. It's a single target attack with Slash and Shadow that uses 10 BP and has 8 power. Before he attacks, he grants himself this morale up, very large, that increases his potential by 40%, lasts for 2 turns, and then after this 8 power attack, he uses Flash of Death. Flash of Death is a spell with double S power, so he opens with physical, then use a magical attack, and when you consider the full combination, he's doing very high damage. It's like high end of 4S power, pretty similar to what you get with Saruin after he stacked all of his potential if you are already on max of your 5 stacks of hit-ups. So that's okay, but Saruin gives more to the party. Usually he will give BP and 50% increase to everyone. He does not give increase to damage, he actually tries to be more defensive than Saruin. Saruin also has a little better rotation, but Ludwig is more defensive. So there are these two comparisons to be made. They reach similar damage. Saruin helps more the party to get PP and damage for the long run, while Ludwig gives you more defense and he himself deals similar damage. He needs a special weapon though that he got during his launch, as worked with the Shadow element. Well, Ludwig has inheritances, but they don't make much sense. They just don't help him much. He has a 2-hit attack that cuts 10% of the max HP of his party. You could theoretically use this if you have someone like Bunny and Meat in your party recovering HP to max, and then he will cut so that you have a 10% damage reduction, but why would you do so? The character will just work with the rotation off, using Dark Violet Slash and then Evil Wind, because when he uses Dark Violet Slash, he actually recovers 7 BP, so he can keep the cycle off using Dark Violet Slash and Evil Wind. But in our reality, you open the fight, use Clad in Chaos, use Evil Wind, and then Dark Violet Slash, because, well, most people that want to use Ludwig who want to use this skill because this is interesting to keep your characters alive for 3 turns. Maybe after 3 turns you have other buffers that will keep them alive, but Ludwig is taking 1 slot of your party. What is he doing? Is he your damage dealer? If he is, that's okay. If he is helping many people survive because the boss has very big nukes on start, that's also very nice. But you have to say that he is not good as support as Impress. Honor Impress will give you evasion chance on full HP because of Karatsu Castle Blessing that we have here, 25% chance to evade, and if you don't evade that hit, you still have a full evasion when your HP is not full. Usually this is used for bosses that have very big nukes, so that you can sometimes even evade twice. She can do this every 2 turns. For very long fights, she's a much better investment than Ludwig. He was designed for fast fights where he can allow very heavy damage dealers that don't have much defense to survive a little while they can nuke enemies. And, well, fights that last at most 10 turns, but usually just 5 to 6. After that amount of time, I don't think Ludwig is helping too much the party survive. So, even though he has very good damage, his support is unreliable, and we already have Fire Impress. If you got her, I believe she's the best support of the 2. And it's very easy to skip him even though he has some utility. So, a triple S great, but easy to skip. The next character is Madeleine, and she is a damage dealer with counter utility. 113 STR couldn't be better. Her agility is 97, just like all of her styles she has agility. And endurance and will are just on average values for current standards. We have a 20% increase on lightning attacks, and when attacking she always recovers HP by around 250. By the end of a turn, she will recover her HP by 1.2 thousand though. Very similar to what the second version of Arthur did, but this time it's every turn, so very good. She also will cleanse herself from all ailments. So in fights like Time Lord, even Kyling, she can work well. But that's only if you survive, because if you get stunned, for example, the next hit's going to kill you, or even petrified. The second passive, she gets 2 different passives. One when is on full HP. She grants herself this attack boost that increases damage potential by 20%, lasts for 3 turns, can stack, and she also recovers BP by 2. If her HP is not full, that means that she actually wants to defend. She then gives herself a defense boost, decreasing damage taken by 20%, but this time lasts for just 2 turns, can stack, and she recovers 1 BP instead of 2, and we recover her HP. So she will heal a little more, and then she still gets another healing when she's attacking. She will still heal back in the end of a turn. She will be cycling between being on full HP or not, and getting some attack boost, sometimes getting defense boost. It's okay, but not so reliable. Action switch is better because you always know what you're getting. Then we have Intrinsic Sword 4, damage increase at all times by 20%, 40% damage reduction when resisting, and 37% chance to evade resisted attacks. Skill number 1 is Demi-Lune Twin. Demi-Lune is then activated 2 times. Demi-Lune is a deep power attack. Well, 2 times deep power attack. It's actually pretty strong. You could say it reaches the value of double S damage when using a triple S power weapon. Then, the second one, Storm Lightning Flash, is a single target attack. That also has Slash and Lightning and attacks random enemies 3 times. Random enemies 3 times with deep power, it's not E. This equals 4S power, especially when using a triple S power weapon, so it's okay. But not as strong as other attacks we have seen in the past. For example, Polka Scatter Explosions hits between 3 to 5 times with the same cost, and he was released on half anniversary. That's right, but he has only 1 element, she has 2. Then we have Tempest Moon. That's the single target attack with triple S power, and it's just slash this time. Then she doesn't get that increased damage on using lightning attacks. But after she attacks, she enters an evasive counter stance. That means that she would not take damage from direct attacks and will counter attack with Demi-Lune Echo. What is Demi-Lune Echo? An S power slash and lightning attack. Well, not that powerful, but it can do damage if she keeps just triggering all of these buffs here, like attack boost, defense boost. When she's attacking, she is also recovering HP. The enemy will keep attacking her, and she will keep increasing defense and attacks. So it does work, specifically when fighting a boss that uses multiple direct attacks. It's just that we have way too many counters right now, especially for Slash. And Khalid, a character that got released so much time ago, and he has a similar setup. He actually can amplify the same skill via his Valentine style, Tempest Moon, as you can see here. And he does have action switch. It's called Tornado Switch instead. So when he counters, he's going to trigger all effects: attack, defense, PP, and recover. But he does not recover 1.2k by the end of a turn. But if you have this Khalid and the Inheritance, I do believe that he just does the same job and even better, sadly. And besides that point, we have way too many slash counters. Like I said, there was Goddess, there are those 2 characters, there is many others as well. So Madeleine, placed in the meta, is a dubious one. She can be used, works, but there's way too many competition, and you probably have 1 counter unit that already works as well. Besides, there are some inheritances that are fun. For example, she has this Luna Fulgur attack, and now when using this, it's 2 hits with Slash and Lightning, and she loses 80% of her HP, right? But she just get it back, and you can use this for farming. I don't know if you'll be able to solo anything, but it's nice that you'll be able to recover all of your HP lost, or very close to that, and you could even theoretically use this in some fights. I don't recommend doing so. And from her Platinum style, there is Demi-Lune Burst, that can be amplified into Demi-Lune Burst Plus, an AoE attack that then uses a single target attack. That is for scenarios when you have many minions and want to do damage to a central unit that you can target, and you cannot counter, for example. It's a good option to use, and it's 2 attacks. That means that she will trigger her Twin Blade stance 2 times. Well, the character itself is nice. Lightning damage is still a little hair. If she was just Slash, then would be a little bad. And even her counter is Slash and Lightning as well. She just competes with Khalid and Sekisushai. Any of them will work for the scenarios that are needed, but it's just that she is a little more safe to use now with all of her passives and buffs. A character that works, nothing really special. We receive an SS Plus grade in the tier list. The last character is Evelyn, and she is a damage dealer and debuffer. Her endurance is not that great like most mages, but her will is good enough on 96%. Intelligence is 116, we've seen higher values than that, and agility is 108. I still believe it's a good combination nonetheless. Going for passives, when she lands an attack, she will buff all surviving allies' intelligence by 15%. Much like Halloween creator. She will then also recover her own HP by around 250. Also, when landing an attack with her skill number 3, she grants this target 5 chain of curses. That we'll be talking more about later. Second one, when attacked, damage will be reduced by 25% at all times. By the end of a turn, she gets 2 BP, so she's a 5 BP per turn character. Her damage increases by 30%, and when she lands an attack, she has a 37% chance to debuff the enemy's intelligence by 15%. Not so reliable, on average, every 3 attacks you get 1 effect. So, by the end, you have just 30% damage increase, 25% damage reduction, but she buffs intelligence of everyone. So that's actually pretty great. Skill number 1 is called Flutch. It's an AoE shadow attack with just E power and 1 BP cost. It's much like using a normal attack with other weapon types, so she does not need to bonk. But then she has a chance to reduce the STR of the enemies by 15% for just 1 BP. That's pretty cheap, a very good skill. The second one, Darkbringer, is a 6 BP S power attack, single target, and shadow and pierce damage. When the attack lands, there is a chance to apply poison for 4 turns. Medium chance is higher than small. Very likely that she will land poison unless the enemy has very high resistance. But besides Remembrance, it's been a while since we needed to poison someone. On Remembrance, she can use this on Carmine, but there are plenty of other staves that can also do the same. The last skill is Hexen Ritus for 9 BP. You have a full AoE attack with B power, and when the attack lands, it will decrease the enemy's intelligence by 15% and buff all surviving allies, including herself, intelligence by 25%. So you can see that there's a theme here. She will actually buff intelligence by 40% of everyone when using Hexen Ritus. Okay, but then she has a passive that is related to Hexen Ritus. When she uses this skill, she applies 5 Chain of Curses. That is something that will be applied to the enemies, and since this is AoE, every enemy in the field. And when these enemies are attacked after you apply it, they will lose 5% of their dexterity and intelligence when they are attacked. There's just one problem with this. This skill is not fast, but her agility is pretty high. She will likely be one of your first attackers, but it may not happen all the time. And if you debuff the enemy too much and all your characters are too fast, sometimes a boss checks how much you debuff it before it even attacks. So you debuff it too much, the boss doesn't like, uses the fire weakness, and all the effects are now gone. This type of design works here and there when the enemy uses the fire weakness by the end of their turn. Depends on the boss design, so nice on paper, but in reality can lead into problems. It is also good to be used with characters that have multiple attacks, like chases. For example, Leon is gonna trigger this all when he's fully loaded, for example. But she's buffing intelligence. You actually want her to be used with people like Bunny, Rock Bouquet, that attacks multiple times as well and will benefit from all the intelligence buffs that Evelyn is supporting. So how does she work? Something I didn't say is that this skill will always debuff 15% intelligence at least. So there's nothing related to checking the enemy will to see if you can land. And then after that, she will be debuffing STR, and she can still debuff dexterity via the Witch Scars. So you have 3 different debuffs, all status that are actually used by the enemy to do damage against you. Besides agility, that can also be used for martial arts skills, but well, we cannot cover it all. STR is also used for martial arts skills. That means that you're still covering all grounds. And when I'm talking about the problems with debuffing, I'm talking mostly about intelligence, because look, if you debuff it 15%, sometimes 30, and then you have 5 stacks of 5%, that leads into 55% intelligence debuff. That can happen in just 1 turn, but the values that she decreases for STR and even dexterity would not be a problem, because this will happen every 2 turns. Usually, it's not enough to make a boss irritated so that he wants to use the fire weakness. So the best point about Evelyn is to debuff intelligence, and it's the intelligence debuff that can lead her into some problems. So great on paper, but many times it just won't work as intended. For inheritance, she has something interesting like Ohor that can apply confusion on Wuhan, Remembrance Battle if you want. She can also inflict poison for Carmine if you want, via the first premium style. She can also use Euthanize if there is just one enemy and you just want to do damage with Evelyn, now that she's a real nuker anyway. Then you also have this Shrill from her Wicked Witch style that can debuff Will, but debuffing Will is very rarely, if ever, needed in current game. Another inheritance could be Drain Life, because this will recover her HP in some situations it may be needed. But in the end, Evelyn is yet another debuffer that tries to do too much. It's good and bad on the same time. This issue of debuffing too much happens with many debuffers, even with Medea, a character that is also used to debuff STR and Intelligence. She's not as good as Medea. Medea can also apply Morale down to the enemy, is a very powerful way to decrease damage taken, and Medea will almost always be better than Evelyn. If you already have Medea, there's no reason to pull for Evelyn, in my opinion. Still, her skill setup works, but not exactly all the time, just know that. But the character itself is strong enough to guarantee a triple S grade in the tier list. But back to the banner image, is this banner worth summoning for? In my opinion, no. I will only give this a Bronze Plus award. Ludwig is a strong damage dealer, but his support is RNG reliant and he competes mostly with Final Impress that offers much more. Madeleine is a counter unit and her skill setup is strong for herself but does not give anything else to the party. We just got Julian. Julian is much stronger for Slash, but for Lightning she competes with Sekisushai and the other Khalid, so there's nothing too special to want the character right now. Evelyn is a debuffer and she competes with Medea. Many people will have Medea, and she's also someone that will not work all the time. So I do believe that while the characters do have something to offer, it's not enough to spend like 45,000 gens to get one of them. But if you are a fan of the characters, it's also okay to pull. Well, always pull for your favorites. But if you are looking on a technical level, they are easy to skip. But that's my opinion. What is yours? Please say here in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. And if you want to support the channel, there are links on the description of the video. I hope to see you soon in the next one. Bye.